Alright, in section 5.1 we deal with exponential functions. And an exponential function can be a number like 10 or 3 or 4 raised to a power, typically some value x, and they change what x is each time. Or it can be a specific number like e. E is an irrational number. It's between 2 and 3. It's roughly 2.71828. And it's a very important number in mathematics. So what they're doing here is they're just asking you to figure out what 2 raised to the 3.6 is, and you use your calculator, type in 10 and hit the hat key, and then type 3.6 and enter. Okay, and 5, same thing. 3 raised to the 1 divide 3 is roughly 1.44225. 7 is e to the 2, or e squared. 8 is e to the negative 3. Okay, and 9, they ask you to graph it. Well, 4 to the x. Well, let's think of 4 to the 0. 4 to the 0 is just 1, so 0, 1. 4 to the 1, when x is 1, it's just 4. 4 to the 2, that's 16. Now what about the negative numbers? 4 to the negative 1. Well, 4 to the negative 1 is 1 over 4 to the positive 1. When you cross the fraction bar with a negative exponent, it changes the exponent to positive. So 4 to the negative 1 is 1 over 4 to the positive 1, or 0.25. 4 to the negative 2 is 1 over 4 to the positive 2, or 1/16, or 0.0625. And then 3 is 4 to the negative 3, and so on. And so as the exponent gets positive and larger, this thing shoots up really fast, and as x gets negative and smaller, this thing gets very, very small. Okay? Now notice that happens for numbers greater than 1. Now numbers less than 1, between 0 and 1, it's going to do the exact opposite. It's going to get bigger over here and smaller over there. And here's a couple of examples where I show you that. 0, 4/5 raised to the 0 is just 1. 4/5 to the 1 is 0.8, which is 4/5. 4/5 to the 2 is 4/5 times 4/5, or 16 over 25, which is 0.64, and so on. And so notice as the exponents get more negative, the y value gets larger, and that's what you would expect for something like this. And number 17, 18, and 20 are all the same thing. This is just e to the x, just like what 2 to the x was, or 4 to the x was. Notice if you have 2 to the x, it shoots up kind of like this. Then e to the x shoots up even faster, and then when you multiply by 2, it goes up even faster than that. And now that's 3 to the negative x, which is really 1 over 3 to the positive 1 x. And so because it's between 0 and 1, it's going to do the exact opposite. It gets smaller over here and larger over there. And so this is 1/3 raised to the x, just like 1/2 or 3/4 or 4/5. Anything between 0 and 1 is going to get smaller to the right and larger to the left. And this is 5e to the negative x, which is 5 times 1 over e to the positive 1 to the x. That's like negative 1x, right? So that e to the negative 1 is really 1 over e. Okay? And so this is really something between 0 and 1. So again, it levels off like this. And then this one, they want you to rewrite this in terms of something between greater than 1. So you write 4/5, and instead you flip it and change it to a negative 1. Right? 5/4 to the negative 1 is the same thing as 4/5 to the positive 1. Okay? And so then you can bring the negative 1 with the x to write it as negative x. Now you've got something that's raised, it's a number greater than 1. And it means the same thing as 4/5, which is less than 1, raised to a positive x. And this one's 2.5. They want you to write it as something between 0 and 1. So 2.5 is 5 over 2. And you take that negative there, and you flip this guy and becomes 2/5. So by introducing a negative or factoring out a negative, you can change something from less than 1 to greater than 1, or greater than 1 to less than 1. Then this one, number 33, they give you a financial situation. They say $1,000 is invested for X years at 8% compounded quarterly, and they give you this formula right here. What amount will result in 8 years? So you plug in 8 for X, and I would figure out what this guy is first and then calculate it, rounded to 2 digits. And then 36, they say 1,000 is invested for X years at 10% compounded continuously. Okay, so I'd multiply these two together and make that 0.5, and raise e to the 0.5 and multiply it by 1,000, and that's what you get there.